Okay, friends, the final chapter. Chapter 20, Flea Bath. It didn't turn out to be as difficult a chore as Ben had imagined. He and Pearl were already soaking wet, and while Ben sprayed the Sasquatch with a hose, Pearl squirted it with liquid soap, and then they scrubbed it with wire-haired brushes. All sorts of things fell out of his fur: twigs, moss, rocks, grasshoppers, some drowned fleas. And when it was rinsed and clean, Ben and Pearl toweled it dry. The Sasquatch seemed to like the attention. It even admired itself in a mirror when the bath was all over. Pearl and Ben put everything away in the supply closet: the bucket and the shovel from the pooper scooper duty, and all the flea bath equipment. They tossed their wet lab coats into the laundry bin and punched out with their time cards. And as they stepped into the lobby, they nearly bumped right into Mr. Tabby. His perfectly creased trousers were wrinkled, and his vest had many little holes. His mustache was drooping, and he was pinching something between his fingers, and it looked like a tiny little insect. "This should be the last one," he said as he dropped it into a jar where it wiggled and buzzed, and then he screwed the lid in place, trapping the creature. "Pixies. I hate when they percolate." Pearl and Ben tried to get a better look at the creature, but Mr. Tabby shoved the jar into his vest pocket. "It is 3 o'clock. Time for you to leave. I understand you broke many, many rules again today." His nose twitched. "And it has come to my attention that you did not dispose of the dragon droppings in the correct manner." Ben gave Pearl a "I told you so" look. "Therefore, when you return on Friday, your punishment shall be—" Ben gritted his teeth. "What now?" "To trim the nose hairs of the Sasquatch to precisely 1/4 of an inch." Pearl giggled. "It's going to be totally gross." "Wait, why do we have to keep doing things with the Sasquatch?" Ben asked. "Every creature that comes to us for care is important. Never forget that." And he reached into another pocket and pulled out 2 pieces of paper, each rolled and tied with string. "Dr. Wu asked me to give you these certificates of merit for helping the rain dragon." Ben and Pearl took their rewards. After unbolting and opening the front door, Mr. Tabby looked down the driveway. Mrs. Mulberry was peering through the gate with a pair of binoculars. Victoria Mulberry was sitting in the red welcome wagon, reading. "I expect you'd like to avoid those 2? He asked. "Yes," Pearl and Ben both said. "I will distract them." He stepped out onto the front stoop and waved at Mrs. Mulberry. She let go of her binoculars and waved back. "Yoo-hoo!" she hollered. "Yoo-hoo! Hello there! Yoo-hoo!" Mr. Tabby began to walk down the driveway very slowly. "Good afternoon. How may I help you?" Mrs. Mulberry jumped up and down with excitement. Victoria never looked up from her book. Crouching real low, Ben and Pearl darted into the tall grasses. As Mrs. Mulberry clung to the bars of the gate, hollering, "Oh, we want to come inside!" Ben and Pearl snuck across the yard and climbed over the hidden section of the fence. And when they were safely on the sidewalk, they waved at Mr. Tabby. He stopped walking. "You wish to come inside?" "Yes." "Do you have a sick worm?" "No." "My dear lady, this is a worm hospital. If you do not possess a sick worm, then I bid you good day." And with that, he turned briskly on his polished heel and hurried into the hospital, where he immediately shut and bolted the door. Victoria ignored the entire scene, her nose buried in the book. "Hey!" Mrs. Mulberry called, shaking the gate. "Come back! I have unanswered questions. Pearl and Ben just snickered. That was the most amazing day yet, Pearl said. They stood behind a clump of trees, safely hidden from view. Can you believe we climbed a dragon's face? Don't forget about traveling to another dimension, Ben added. I will never forget any of it. I'll remember every single moment for the rest of my life. And she pulled a pack of gum from her pocket and handed a piece to Ben. The wrapper was soggy, but the stick was still perfectly chewable. Huh, I'm wondering, she chewed for a bit. You remember what Mr. Tabby had said about the dangerous person trying to get inside the hospital? Do you think that could be Maximus Steele? I hope not, Ben said. He glanced over at the building. Someone who could trap a rain dragon could probably find it easily and get past 5 deadbolts. And I hope we never meet him. Pearl took off her slippers and twisted each one, wringing them dry, and then she slid them back onto her feet. Well, if I ever meet him, I am going to dispose of dragon droppings right on his head. Ben chuckled. He had no doubt that she would do that. Pearl started across the road in the lead, as usual, but it didn't bother Ben this time. He had come to realize something, that yin and yang were true. For every girl who sought adventure, there was a boy who was cautious, and that was perfectly okay. Just as they reached the first intersection, Grandpa Abe pulled up and offered to drive Pearl to the dollar store. They both climbed into the back seat. Oy gavay, why are the two of you soaking wet? Grandpa Abe asked. Ben fastened his seatbelt. A story filled his mind. And then remember, they were talking about getting a gift for the city of Buttonville, or the town of Buttonville. Mrs. Mulberry looks quite pleased. Tune in for book number 4, called The Order of the Unicorn.